Over the past week, several developments across multiple regions have altered the strategic landscape in ways that may influence nuclear stability. In Iran, a sudden leadership transition has placed one of the regime's most hardline figures in direct control of the country's military and nuclear policy. In Europe, France has announced a major shift in its nuclear doctrine, expanding its arsenal and signaling that its nuclear deterrent may play a larger role in European security. In Asia, China has increased its defense spending once again, continuing a pattern of sustained military expansion. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions involving the United States and several adversarial states are producing ripple effects across the global security environment, influencing how those states interpret American actions and intentions. Individually, these events may not represent an immediate nuclear threat. However, taken together they illustrate how quickly strategic conditions can change. This is the DEFCON Warning System. This is the DEFCON Warning System. Alert status for 1 p.m. Universal Time Coordinated, Monday, the 9th of March 2026. Condition Blue DEFCON 4. There are currently no imminent nuclear threats at this time. However, there are events occurring in the world theater which require closer monitoring. The most significant development this week is the appointment of Mojtaba Khamenei as the new supreme leader of Iran. Mojtaba Khamenei is the son of the late Iranian supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and has long been associated with the most conservative elements of the Iranian political establishment, including close ties to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. His appointment marks the first effectively dynastic succession in the Islamic Republic since the 1979 revolution. The leadership change comes during an already volatile period in the region. Iran remains engaged in direct and indirect conflict with both Israel and the United States, and the new leader now inherits control over Iran's military, intelligence apparatus, and nuclear decision-making structures. Because Mojtaba Khamenei is widely regarded as an extreme hardliner, analysts are watching closely for potential shifts in Iranian strategy, including use of its nuclear program. While Iran has issued a fatwa against nuclear use, it is important to note that fatwas are religious opinions and not laws, and fatwas can be ignored in times of perceived necessities. One immediate signal of the regime's posture came through a warning issued by Iranian officials stating that, should the United States or Israel attempt regime change, Iran would target Israel's nuclear facility at Dimona. Such statements are not unusual in periods of heightened tension, but they reinforce the possibility that Iran's nuclear-related rhetoric could become more aggressive under the new leadership. It is important to note that targeting or threatening nuclear infrastructure carries escalation risks that could involve multiple states. Another significant development occurred within NATO's broader security environment. France has announced that it will increase its nuclear arsenal and will no longer publicly disclose the number of warheads it maintains. This represents a notable shift in French nuclear policy. For decades, France maintained a relatively transparent ceiling on its nuclear forces. The new policy signals a willingness to expand deterrence capabilities and increase strategic ambiguity regarding the size of its arsenal. French President Emmanuel Macron has also proposed a broader European role for France's nuclear deterrent. As part of this initiative, France has offered the possibility of temporarily deploying nuclear-capable aircraft to allied countries within Europe. Denmark has confirmed that it is in discussions with France regarding this proposal, which could involve deployments of nuclear-capable fighter aircraft on a rotational basis. These discussions reflect growing concern within Europe about long-term security arrangements. Although NATO already maintains nuclear sharing arrangements involving several European countries, France historically kept its nuclear deterrent independent from NATO command structures. The new proposals therefore represent a potentially significant evolution in European nuclear strategy. From a global nuclear stability perspective, an increase in nuclear deployments or extended deterrence arrangements can have mixed implications. On one hand, extended deterrence can strengthen Allied security and discourage aggression. On the other hand, it can also prompt adversaries to increase their own nuclear capabilities in response. Russia has already expressed concern about the possibility of expanded European nuclear deployments, suggesting that such moves could influence its own strategic calculations. China also made a notable announcement this week regarding its defense spending. Beijing has confirmed that it will increase its military budget by approximately 7% this year. While increases in Chinese defense spending are not unusual, the continued pace of expansion reflects the country's long-term military modernization program. China is currently engaged in a large-scale effort to expand its strategic capabilities, including the construction of new missile silos, improvements to its nuclear triad, and development of advanced delivery systems. Although the defense budget increase is not specifically tied to nuclear forces, China's overall military growth contributes to the gradual expansion of its nuclear deterrent. In recent years, China has moved away from maintaining only a minimal nuclear capability and appears to be pursuing a larger and more flexible arsenal. The strategic implications of this shift are still being evaluated. China continues to state that its nuclear policy remains defensive in nature and maintains a declared no-first-use doctrine. The DEFCON Warning System, however, places little value in no-first-use declarations, stating that any country will resort to nuclear use when appropriately threatened. The change of Russia's nuclear use policy is an example of how policies can change in the face of threats. Another factor influencing global stability involves the broader perception of United States actions abroad. Recent American actions directed at states such as Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran are having secondary effects on how other countries interpret American strategy. Adversarial states, including Russia, North Korea, and China, often analyze these actions as indicators of American willingness to apply pressure, sanctions, or military force against governments that oppose U.S. policy. Whether or not these perceptions accurately reflect American intentions, they can influence how those states respond to future developments. In international security dynamics, perception can be nearly as important as reality. When states interpret another country's actions as aggressive or destabilizing, they may respond by increasing military readiness, strengthening alliances, or accelerating weapons development. Such reactions can create what analysts refer to as a security dilemma, where defensive measures taken by one country appear threatening to another. For this reason, shifts in global perception of American policy are closely monitored within the broader framework of nuclear risk assessment. The DEFCON Warning System is a private intelligence organization which has monitored and assessed nuclear threats by national entities since 1984. It is not affiliated with any government agency and does not represent the alert status of any military branch. The public should make their own evaluations and not rely on the DEFCON Warning System for any strategic planning. At all times, citizens are urged to learn what steps to take in the event of a nuclear attack. If this had been an actual attack, the DEFCON Warning System will give radiation readings for areas that are reported to it. Your readings will vary. Official news sources will have radiation readings for your area. For immediate updates, visit www.defconwarningsystem.com. Breaking news and important information can be found on the DEFCON Warning System Community Forum and on the DEFCON Twitter feed DEFCON WS Alerts. You may also subscribe to the DEFCON Warning System mailing list. Note that Twitter updates may be subject to delays. The next scheduled update is 1 p.m., the 16th of March 2026. Additional updates will be made as the situation warrants, with more frequent updates at higher alert levels. This concludes this report of the DEFCON Warning System.